Okay, I seem to do quite a lot of these all of a sudden. So the E reported their first quarter earnings, and they were down. Now, of course, first quarter we're looking at January, February, March. So we're at the build to WrestleMania. And so ratings are down about 20-25% year to year. Normally there's a spike near WrestleMania. That did not happen. Live attendance is down. Merchandise sales are down. Which made their stock drop. Okay, so good. No, now all indicators now where the E was able to be like, oh no, we're doing fine, we're doing fine. If you look at how I look at the drop in their ratings, the drop in their ratings is equal to, if not better than what we're seeing for, people cutting for the cord cutters. This quarter actually was a little bit worse. Now, for companies like Fox, who just threw a ton of money at them thinking that this was a good way to, buffer things for their Friday night lineup, seeing both shows not peak going into their, their season finale. Normally, with WrestleMania coming up, it's like the playoff games you see in NFL going to the Super Bowl, where you start seeing people start turning in more. Like, oh, I want to figure out enough what's going on so I can then jump into the big game and know what's going on. Lots of factors could be pulling into this. One, you don't need to watch Raw or SmackDown to figure out what's going on. You can hit Cage Side Seats, Bleacher Report, you can just be on Twitter, you can hit WWE.com, you can watch the YouTube shows they put up, you can catch it on Hulu. I think they still do a weekly show on the network. So your options are you can spend a portion of 5 hours watching both shows. That's not including the additional 3 hours they've got with 205 NXT and NXT UK. So you can either spend, up to 8 hours, not including pay-per-views, kickoffs, takeovers. Once you do that, all of a sudden now you've gone from 8 hours a week to almost 10 hours a week of wrestling. Just the WWE. And I'll be honest, when I watch Raw, I go to a buddy's house, we start watching at 8:30. Now there's no overrun, we're done like a few minutes after 10. I start watching SmackDown at about 8. 8-ish, it starts at 7 in our area. Just like Raw starts at 7 o'clock as well. And by the time I'm done, it's maybe 9:10, 9:20. Depends on what they had, because I'll skip through commercial breaks. If you've got, the matches are so formulaic when it comes to the main event. We'll do the, jump. If something looks cool, we'll go back and watch it, but we know that we're going to hit a commercial break. And the face might be in control. He's going to knock the heel to the outside of the ring. He might go for a dive, and that's commercial break. That's almost every single match is built to a formula, and they're going to come back, and the heel's going to be taken over. Watch Raw and SmackDown, even when they're doing the split screen stuff, what they do on SmackDown, and you will see it's absolutely formulaic to the point that if you think it's going to go just 2 segments, you can skip the first segment of a match just to save time, or catch the highlights on YouTube. And so we'll try the pay-per-views real quick. Royal Rumble. Brock was taking on Finn, regular man Finn, and the build was meh, because Brock's not there all the time. The build of the Royal Rumble was kind of standard. All indicators were with Seth Rollins. The tag divisions at the time were both kind of, nothing's really sticking out as like, oh, remember that really awesome match? So now we're at the time where it was, the Miz and Shane McMahon taking on the Usos. Again, nothing that really makes you go, oh man, I had to see that match. For the women's division, on SmackDown side, they were killing it. Becky taking on Asuka. Asuka being the champ after the good way they ended the story at TLC. Seemed entertaining. Sasha Banks taking on Ronda Rousey. Again, 2 solid women's matches. Women's Royal Rumble. It was good indication. It's like, well, it's either going to be Charlotte, and then Charlotte can face Ronda Rousey, or they'll finally get Becky Lynch to get the title off of her. So they did things that were logical, incredibly predictable, which is fine. Things are probably more predictable now because you've got the wrestling internet, where thousands of people are over-examining things, which is also probably why ratings are down, because it's hard to enjoy something if you're constantly over-analyzing it. But lots of indicators were, this is the direction they're going to go, this direction they're going to go. The Royal Rumble itself, the Women's Royal Rumble, took a very long time. It's over an hour. It's hard to do 2-hour-long matches, especially when you realize that the roster's got a lot of good stars in it, and a lot of kind of just below it. Huge roster. A lot of talent. Didn't think it was going anywhere. You also had the NXT call-ups. Nikki Cross, Lacey Evans, Ethan Carter III, Heavy Machinery, Lars Sullivan. Great, they had lots of vignettes that didn't really describe them that well, but had lots of vignettes. And Lacey Evans is feuding for the Raw Women's title now because she finally made it into the ring. That's really about... Lars Sullivan has now made his debut, but that's second quarter. Okay. The Daniel Bryan was defending his title against AJ Styles. Good matches, just I feel like they're missing something. And then we go into Elimination Chamber. Daniel Bryan defending his title against 5 other competitors. Okay. Build-up was good, but you can kind of tell that no one's swapping titles at Chamber because you're already building to Mania. This was when Kofi Kingston got red hot. And then they cooled that off because, you know what, you gotta do Fastlane. Which is when they brought in the Kevin Owens instead of Kofi Kingston. Okay. Women's division at that time. Okay. Asuka defended her title against I can't remember who Ronda Rousey was feuding against at that time, because around that time was when they were starting to build up to Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, and then they had to go, no, Becky, you're suspended and arrested and need a doctor's note, and you have to apologize, and you're arrested again. You're all arrested, and you're suspended, and they threw every single thing into that storyline. And there's Charlotte, because Charlotte. But I don't know if it's sort of fallen in the first quarter or not. The Benny Hill-esque 3 women being handcuffed, kicking each other. It's the height of wrestling. So goofy. Elimination Chamber was also when they're like, we're going to crown our first ever women's tag team champions. Okay. Sasha and Bayley. Yep. Taking on the Iconics. Okay. And Nia Jax and Tamina. Okay. Versus Riot Squad. Good. Fire and Desire. Weren't they breaking up because of the Naomi thing? They're not breaking up. Are we going to get a story of that on main? No? Okay. And taking on Naomi and Lana because we had a pod and needed people in it. And this is before they decided to defend the belts on all shows. They could just throw an NXT team in there and it would have probably worked out about as well. So the women's division got stuck in a holding pattern as they were trying to build to the massive women's main event. Okay. Especially with all the titles involved. But that's okay, because they took that title off Asuka, who showed up at Royal Rumble, beat Becky Lynch, and then did nothing. They put the titles on Sasha and Bayley, And then people went, great. Their first feud is against an awesome team. To me and Nia Jax. Haven't we seen that in some iteration, like 2 times a month, since November? Women's tag belts. And then they brought up Ricochet and Aleister Black for reasons, but at least they put them in spots to have them do well. And it just felt like a really bizarre, disjunctive. This is your build up to your biggest event. And the only reason why Becky Lynch caught fire was because she got injured. The reason why we had Kofi Kingston making his way to WrestleMania is because Mustafa Ali got injured. We're seeing some good matches, but we're getting next to zero build. I'm really waiting to see how this quarter does, if you were to just remove Mania. I know there are fans who are waiting with bated breath for when All Elite Wrestling makes their big triumph, and here's what we're going to be doing on TV bit. At this point in time, I'm thinking that the E needs some sort of massive change-up. I know they're getting rid of a lot of creative, and then putting new creative in place. Okay. No matter how creative your people are, the person who makes the decision of what goes on and what does not stays the same. So if the person at the end of the day who says that's good, put it on TV, or if that's bad, don't put it on TV, is the same person, your filter stays the same. I know this quarter's going to do better because they got WrestleMania. They're going to be doing a show in Saudi Arabia, which if they're smart, they just won't really build too much to it. We've got a break between now and Money in the Bank. They've already mentioned they're not going to do any, potentially no matches to figure out who gets into it, because why do matches that matter? And it's an incredibly frustrating time to be a fan of the WWE.